I don't live here.
We'll call the extension committee meeting to order with the first order of business being comments from the public related to the agenda request. Anybody wish to speak for the public?
The chance, Norton.
Anybody on Zoom? No. Hearing no requests from the public, the next order of business be to approve the minutes from the October 20th meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we got safety share with Tom.
Safety share. What do you think we should talk about? Should we
Slip
drive
and
along?
slide.
The roads.
Yeah,
are
winter
slippery.
driving maybe could be on the thing, and it seems like, you know, it happens every year, and there's still people that don't think at all, they get out there, and it all starts with getting up in the morning, not knowing it's snowing, and being late to work, and then rushing. You got everybody rushing at the same time. I came in the Lake Road instead of 41 today, and 45 miles an hour, roads in good shape, they've been salted already. And just a little bit of planning ahead of time saves us. And even then, I've got to the point, I am never late. I don't care what time it is and where it is, I am not late. I want to get there when I get there, just because as soon as I start rushing, I end up paying for it. Anybody else have anything?
Walk like a penguin.
I was gonna say, there are signs on the doors, even in the building, the county's doing a good job of sharing their little safety things, and it's, you know, be careful when you walk and stuff, and you know what, guess who fell in the parking lot this morning? You know, I
No.
drive very carefully, but I was carrying too much stuff, I should have just stopped at the door and dropped
Aw.
off my stuff, but found one slick spot and I went down. It's
It was
like,
like, I actually slipped, I didn't fall,
Yeah.
but I mean, I lost footing in the parking lot.
I walked the dog this morning, not a problem, but there's one super slick spot. I know it's there every year. I've been here forever. and I'm carrying a table and bam, I went down, but
Being a southerner and coming up here, we call it the Wisconsin tight butt walk. So it's
The shuffle.
you tighten up. Oh, yeah, you bend forward a little bit, you bend your knees a little bit, and you tighten up, Karen. Yes, it is definitely there. And I want to thank Tom so much for saying, here, Kate, if you fall, I'll fall too.
What she doesn't know is my vertigo is really bad. and I've been there
She was holding you up.
Yeah,
Also, yellow paint. This is something I mentioned on the way in. For whatever reason, every place there's yellow paint, you don't step on the yellow. The yellow paint is slick.
there it is. Okay, thank you.
Next, we go to the chairman's report. I'd just like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, enjoy the time with your family, and eat plenty of turkey, I guess. I'm a ham eater myself. We got to support both. Then we'll go on to the UW Extension Program Educator Reports and Updates with Sarah Thompson.
oh goodness. If you want to take one of those, I just created this real quickly. Usually we have these ready for our 4-H board meeting on, which was this past Tuesday night.
Can I interrupt for just a moment?
Sure.
I've just received a text from Rachel Dowling saying, I'm trying to log into the meeting and it says the host is busy.
Uh-oh.
I don't see
Here
her
she
on here.
is. She's taking care of the meeting.
And it's, yeah, I'm not seeing any sort of request for her to get it.
Well, we should give Jerry a big round of applause. Friend of 4-H award that you got.
Hey, hey. At the bank.
Yeah.
I did,
Okay. Did they say nice things about you?
did
Or did they just read
I
what I
called you
wrote?
Jerry, Steve, sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I
when you
was
said Jerry, I was like,
wondering,
what is it?
I was wondering who Jerry was.
Anyway, that's a good award.
Yeah, it was a nice black.
Got a free meal with it?
I got a free meal too.
Yeah,
It wasn't really free though. I bought a plaque and I gave it to Domsky's wife. She had her bid 35 on it, and I knew that she does a lot for
See
4-H.
if I can
So I
send her
made
an
50,
email with it
And I
maybe.
gave her the plaque, and then I bought $20 worth of raffle tickets, and I gave them to the two girls that were selling them. So the free meal actually cost me $70.
Steve, I wouldn't expect
Well,
anything less.
And
from you.
that's why he got very nice, in fact, I saw that. that's why you got the friend of 4-H award for all of those wonderful things that you
Very
do.
Who
nice.
says
And,
we can't buy an award, huh?
And it's kind of funny because you get lots of nominations for all of those awards and things, and I don't know who wrote that one. Did you see it in the book?
Yeah.
I nominated, but I wasn't able, that was like the first 4-H banquet that I haven't been able
I
to
have
attend.
one of those
I had another
myself.
event
You
going
do?
on that night. Otherwise, I'm usually
Jim
there.
Barthel was here.
What?
I got a friend of 4-H one year.
Oh,
when Jim
wait, Jim?
Barthel was here.
Okay,
Oh, wow.
I actually got it one of my first years here when I was working as a support staff in our office too, because we were short educators and I filled in and did all sorts of stuff for 4-H. Never knew I'd be in this position right now, but yeah, I got it too. Have we found her yet? No?
I just sent her an email with the Zoom invite in case she has like a wrong link, but there's nobody needing to get in.
Oh, interesting, yeah. I haven't seen anybody sitting in your wing.
What if she's on an old,
That's what I wonder. So I just sent her an invite for the correct
Oh,
info,
okay.
so, and I haven't logged in as the host, so if she was on my end, I wouldn't be able to let her in, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Huh.
I sent her an email with the login info, so hopefully she'll. get
Okay.
in.
I let her know that, that you were working on it.
If she does get logged in, we'll let her speak.
Super. Thank you. I think she would appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve.
So anyway, just some quick little things here as far as extension updates. We have our all colleague conference in Madison, December 5th through 7th. So a lot of us will be down there. I'm not sure if I'm going yet or not, but that's happening. There's a regional 4-H meeting that Dana and I will both be attending in Ozaukee County on December 15th. But then as far as things that I've been working on, as it says, I just finished up a rotation at 2 of the Menasha schools, Close Grove and Fonto, which were amazing. And just started some work at Udemore. So I'm doing a full rotation of 6 weeks at each of the schools in Menasha. And also working to get into some classrooms to do some of our Cloverbud workshops that we have been working on this past year. I've been doing, last year it was once a month. This year, or this school year, I'm doing Cloverbuds 1 month and Explorers the other month. But doing some of those things in the schools, that's what we're trying to get more into the classrooms in addition to the after school programs as well. Mentioning the Cloverbud workshops, Margaret Berger is a volunteer. She's also Dana's daughter. She has helped me the last couple of times with some Cloverbud workshops. And in November, at the beginning one, we had 16, I think it was 16 kindergarten through 2nd graders here. And we worked with being a storyteller, and they got to talk a little bit about the 3 little pigs. And then we used a bag of building materials, just a bunch of different things to see if they could build a house that the big bad wolf could not blow down. And so we were little engineers and built some neat little structures. And we will be doing another one in January, as it says the 23rd. I don't have my glasses, but and we'll be doing some painting, and that's always a fun thing to do with the kindergartners. But January 23rd, if you want to come see that one. And I mentioned the Explorers. We started.
is that here?
It'll be here. Yep, 6:30 on January 23rd. The Explorers workshops, that's been a new one. I've only done one so far, and we did a painting thing back in October, I think it was, yeah. And with those kids that are a little older, we talked about some of the artists and some of the different techniques, and then they went crazy with some paint and they had a good time. And we'll be doing another one coming up here soon in early December. We're going to be doing a little bit of fun with flashlights. We're going to do a little experimenting with wires and batteries and light bulbs. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm going to jump past the Chick Quest for just a second. And Cloverbud Blast is just an event that takes place once a year, usually in the fall. And I just had this past Sunday here in the meeting rooms. Oh gosh, I think I had 28 registered, but I had 20 that actually showed up Sunday afternoon. And we had a full house. I mean, 20 little kids. Then they bring, sometimes their older brothers and sisters and younger brothers and sisters and parents and grandparents and craziness. But we have 2 hours of just games and activities and project area things. And the highlight is snacks, probably for the kids. But then our current third graders who are graduating from the Cloverbud program and going to exploring, we do a little crossover ceremony and I read a little poem and I tell a little bit about each of the kids and they get a little trophy and walk away with like a little flower and some balloons and things. So there's a picture there of
And a big smile.
and big smiles and it's, yeah, that little guy there in the picture, he never smiles. Well, he doesn't smile much, but it's the only picture I got that day. I usually get pictures of all the graduates and tons of pictures, but I begged the parents that were there via email the other day, can you send me some pictures? I only got a couple, but they said, Sarah, you can't take pictures. We're running around like a chicken with your head cut off and entertaining all the kids. So that's Caleb and he enjoys and comes to all my Cloverbud things. And he's got 3 little brothers and sisters that are all super involved as well. So I'm looking forward to that family continuing on. And then the Chick Quest thing, I know Dana had mentioned in her report as well, that she's done a lot of the background work on the Chick Quest and getting that grant money for that program to take place. She and I went to Ohio back in September and got a training done at the nationwide and Ohio Farm Bureau 4-H Center there. And we have had some trainings with some of the teachers in the county where we will be doing some of these programs, as well as some of our 4-H colleagues within the state did a Zoom with, actually though, they came here and we put together some totes with all the supplies. And the neat thing is we just got $5,000 from Culver's. The check was presented, if you saw that on Facebook. We were there Monday afternoon, the Culver's on West Town here in Oshkosh, promoting agriculture and any of those kinds of things that we're doing in the schools. So we got that check on Monday. And as I said here, Jenny Ecker, she's one of our volunteers in our 4-H program. She teaches at Shattuck in Mena, does a special ed classroom. And she was our first volunteer to do our Chick Quest program. And so I've had 2 sessions right now at Shattuck. We just got our eggs put in the incubator on Tuesday. We are super excited and they all got yellow t-shirts yesterday when I was there. So it's exciting to wait to see, make sure, I'm hoping most of or all of the eggs hatch. Something better hatch. But they're super excited. I'm super excited. And if you notice in our lower window out there in the hallway, we have our second incubator sitting there is set up. We're going to put some eggs in there on Tuesday as well, just to have a test done here. So you can check on those next week or whenever you're here in the building to see if we have chicks coming in the next, they should be done in 21 days, but we're not putting them until this coming Tuesday. So whatever, do the math. And then we're hoping to use some of that money to buy some more kits, more incubators, more of the consumables and things that we need to go out into more classrooms. And we do have 2 classrooms ready to go come January. I'll be in a classroom in Oshkosh and one in Menasha. I don't remember which schools right off the top of my head, but those dates are set, so that's exciting. And the last thing I was just going to mention is record book season, and most of you have seen record books maybe at the county board meetings and things. I know you have seen the ones that you've looked at before too. Dana and I read through all of the ones that made it to the county level within the last few weeks, and it is just amazing to read through all of those things. Usually we have representatives from each of the clubs come and we do a record book reading here in the meeting rooms. But the last couple of years it's been hard with COVID and everything else to get people together, and it takes a lot of time. So Dana and I have these last 2 years, all of them just ourselves, and just blown away by all of the activities that they do, the records that they keep, and the work that they put in, and the amazing work that our volunteers do with those kids. Just makes the whole program worth it. So, but as I think Dana said in her report, that she's going to have some of those at one of your next county board meetings to look through as well. So look forward to seeing those. And I think that's about all I got right now. Any questions? Yes.
You know, I appreciate you doing everything you do. You know, the thing is, there's only one of you. And as I look at the little map up here, I appreciate the fact that you said the word Menasha quite a few times, and you're up there and you have a presence there. But how do you get involved in these other places? There's not enough time.
There's not enough time. Those are the clubs that are listed there. I think.
Yeah, there's a club.
Do they meet weekly or monthly?
The
or-
clubs typically meet monthly. They
Okay.
have a schedule. They're all on the website too, on our calendar. Dana, if you follow our Facebook page, Dana's been going to a couple clubs each month and kind of checking in to make sure they're doing their thing, but they're all working really hard, and she gives them this Wisconsin 4-H movement certificate thing, and those have been on the Facebook page quite a bit. So she's been doing a lot of work checking in on the clubs and making sure that they're doing what their charter says that they're doing and those kinds of things. My reach with the clubs mostly is through working with the camp program or doing the Clover Bud and Explorer workshops and things like that. And as far as schools, now with Chick Quest, that's going into the schools. The Clover Bud programs we're hoping to do in schools. And you can do more than one of those in a day. The
Yeah,
after school
that's-
programs, it's really hard because if I've got Oshkosh, Neenah, Menasha, Amro, Winnebago, I literally
how do
don't have enough
you-
days in my
How do
life.
you make your mind up which ones you're not?
This year I have focused mostly on Menasha, just because we don't have many clubs in that immediate area.
Right.
And that's where we're trying to
You don't
expand
have
our
many
access.
cows. in that.
What?
You don't have any cows.
Right, and you don't need cows.
Yeah.
But doing all of those other project area things and just making the 4-H name known is kind of our goal there. And we did start a club at Egan Elementary this past year, so that's kind of exciting.
So your really goal is to get interest to the point where then it gets handed off to a club, which then takes up from there.
Right,
Now that is a good philosophy.
and it's kind of neat because within the state, we can count the kids. If I reach them, let's say 6 times or whatever throughout the year, and they're getting 4-H curriculum, they're getting 4-H education, we can count them in the program as participants. There are new enrollment forms that the state has just put out, and so that's kind of a new thing right now. So I'm working with them a little closer, getting some of that contact information and things so that we can get those kids our newsletter, for example, and things like that. So that
Is the Legos program part of this, or is that separate?
which Lego program are you
The
talking
one where you were going past my house all the time and never stopped to go over the Legos?
I go past your house all those 6 times to Clovis Grove and things.
Yeah, is that the same thing? or is
That
something
was-
different,
That was part of the after-school programs.
which
that I
is
was
different
doing
than this.
The after-school programs are part of, that's where I'm counting some of these kids now on our enrollment forms as being 4-H participants.
So that is part.
It is part of this, yes. So we're trying to reach them in any way we can with the Chick Quest program, with the after-school programs, with going into the classrooms.
I think it's commendable that you're trying, and there's a plan, because like I was saying, there's only one of you, and it's a big county.
It's a big county.
Steve, Supervisor Dowley's had her hand raised.
Let's just finish this up, then we'll go to public
Okay.
comment.
Other questions for me real quick, and then we'll.
Sure. First, a comment. I was reading a book that we're giving to one of our grandchildren yesterday, talking about letters,
Mhm.
words, sentences, stories, imagination. And so when you talked about that, it brought up a couple of thoughts for me. One of them is there is the Education Foundation of Neenah.
Okay,
The Doug and Kay Horan portion of it was specifically to donate books to Roosevelt School, which is a Title I school.
Mhm.
Roosevelt is closing down. They have access to those monies this year. I would really appreciate if you would explore that
okay,
and go about getting money for books. And it is specifically for those kids in Neenah, but you know, it's kind of an unseen portion of the community that needs these books. The next one is, do you go to private schools?
I have not.
Okay. The next one is, do you have a 501c3 that money can be donated to? And if so, I need an EIN number. And I would love to give to the CHIC program.
Awesome. Can you contact Dana with that information?
Yes,
Because she's doing all the background on the Chick Quest stuff.
okay.
She's done all the
Yeah, and
legwork.
we have a trust that
Mhm.
we donate from.
Okay.
So
Fantastic.
if I can do that, I just think it's super. And I'm starting to because I'm getting these quarterly books,
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to let our neighbors know about 4-H. And I know that one of our neighbors is talking about Youth Go. And I said, oh, do I have a project for you? My final question is, as Tom was suggesting, there's only one of you.
Mm-hmm.
How do we as county board members become volunteers and help support you?
As a 4-H volunteer?
Yes,
4-H Online is our program. If you go there, you can register to be a 4-H volunteer. If you contact Dana or even Ashley, they can walk you through that process. It's pretty simple. You set up an account in 4-H Online. There are a lot of trainings and things that you need to go
Background
through.
checks.
There's a background check and trainings and things like that are mostly done online these days, which is really nice.
I think it's actually in that Red book this month. There was a group that went through it.
oh, okay. Thank you, Steve.
Yes, do you have a copy of the?
I do
newsletter?
have a copy of that. And I think, in fact, it's in my car to give away to my neighbor across the street.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And that's available online as well if you go to our website. And then you can print it in color.
And it's just 4-H online,
Yes, 4-H Online is the program. for the-
4-H online dot.
Com probably.
Not org,
My,
not gov.
Yeah, really. I'm thinking the same thing.
I don't even know. It's just a thing on my computer.
You press the button.
You press the
I press the
button.
button.
Just press the button, it goes there.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think that's all I've got on here.
That's the Facebook.
Even
That's
if
the
you go to our
Facebook.
website, it's there too, using 4-H Online University. Oops, that's the wrong one. But yeah. 4-H Online,
You
sign
need
in.
longer arms.
I know. I left my glasses in.
And more of you.
Do you have a question, Mike?
Yeah, you had mentioned explorers. I take it this is one big group or one group we have. And what I would like to see is maybe this explorer have one session that looks at and studies county government.
Mhm.
And maybe in the same vein, the same session or another session, kind of have people come in and look at county government careers. I've expressed interest. I think we have to educate and get young people more involved and learning more about county government. I think this is one venue we could do that. If we have explorers posts, like I say, I don't know one to award just for county government, but I think if you had a session, I think you get some people, you know, the county board chairman, the county executive, and other departments may be able to educate them on county government. And then, like I say, on that same session, we could bring people and we educate them. This is the kind of careers you can do if you to join county government. I think it's a really big need, Sarah.
Okay.
I expressed, you know, years ago when the 4-H group did an essay and they had an interview with each one of us. I totally support this. I would like this really started. I think it much really needed. Anything I can do to help do this,
Okay.
I would like very much. You know, I don't want to get into the community development. I mean, I was going to ask, NACO has a program where the county board members and the public will learn about the county board process. And I was thinking about maybe getting the county to purchase that program and having extension maybe do that. Maybe I could talk to the chairman about that, but I just think we have to educate the public and the students about county government more. So that's my emphasis I would like to see.
That could be one of my programs for those kids in the next couple months.
Okay, it looks like the best place to go, all these things start the same way, 4H.extension, all written out. WISC.edu. And then when you get there, see if there's listings for volunteers, because you know, that keeps being the starting point, because here's one for American Spirit East, and here's one for, I mean, that's how they all start.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
try that.
Thank you, thank you. I've got it down.
I have a question. Mike, if I make a statement, there's county government and then there's county politics. Do you agree with that?
I agree, yeah.
Yeah. So as we're teaching this, we gotta watch it because there's a big difference. If they assume, they look at it, and this is the way the government runs. Well, some of it is politics, trying to influence government. So just keep that in mind, because I think it's definitely good, but whoever's making the presentation can't assume that they're both the same, because they are different.
Right.
Well, and the other thing that popped into my head, it keeps on popping in, doesn't it? Is actually having a student or an intern following potentially a supervisor, and then going with that supervisor to their commission, committee, board meetings, and actually following along that way, because I'll tell you, what have I learned over the last 8 months? Lord have mercy, it's huge.
And it'll never stop. As long as you're sitting on your, you learn something all the time. And when you think you know something, just wait a little bit.
Tom, do you think I haven't found that out? Oh. Yes, and
There's
it's
a lot.
absolutely fascinating.
No more questions, then we'll go back to public comments. I see Rachel's online now.
Hi, just a quick comment before I make my official comment. The Zoom link listed on the county board website is broken. So I had to email the county clerk's office to get into the meeting today, just so you're all aware. I'm not sure if that can be fixed. Now to my formal comment, I wanted to come back and just, I guess, give a final statement. I see that you have the Diversity Affairs Commission listed on your agenda again today. I want to very, very strongly reiterate that I had asked to be on the Diversity Affairs Commission even before I was elected to the county board. I came ready to pull up my sleeves. I was willing to carry buckets of water to get stuff moved, to get stuff done. But at the end of the day, I was given a strainer to carry the water, and it just doesn't work. No matter how hard I try, I cannot move the water, and I can't do it with a team of people. It's been an uphill battle. Having worked with startups in the past, trying to cram a month long of work into a 2-hour meeting is also an uphill battle. At the UW September meeting, Supervisor Bender made a comment, and I think he was very wise in saying so. He said, if you don't approve this, speaking of the health position, then they don't want it. Like I told you last month, if this position isn't approved, I agree, we need to disband it. And you can find the comment at the 2-hour marker on the video. I know that this wasn't an easy statement, especially for Supervisor Bender to make, because he's been with the DAC since the beginning. With this in mind, I do commend Supervisor Bender for his understanding and willingness to listen to our concerns. And at the end of the day, that's the issue, is we have concerns that we don't have anyone to lead us. There's no formal organization. Just the goals that were laid out don't go past the year 2022. There's just so many holes that need to get filled, and a 2-hour meeting once a month just isn't enough to do it. So thank you very much for your time, and I really appreciate your understanding.
Is there anybody else that got into the meeting or no?
Jared Longsign is on the meeting.
So there's nobody else that wants to speak? No, okay, then we'll move on. Mia, I believe is sick today, so she won't. And
She's rescheduled for December.
is what?
She'll be here next month.
Next one, okay.
Yep.
And Chris, he's on vacation. Does he have something written up or?
We didn't get enough of these.
That's all right.
Here,
We'll share. I'll hold her up.
We're good.
Well, it's my office.
It's another.
We grab a couple more. Clearly don't have much of a voice today, so if anybody would like to read the updates from Chris out loud, that would be much appreciated, or you guys can read them to yourselves. I'll grab some more copies.
what are the updates that you want read?
The other handout. One second. I'll grab a handout.
Okay, I'll read it to you. Written update for county and state activities. The budget and financial updates, we are working on planned purchases in the 2022 budget before we close out the year. Overall, we are close to the target. We will be underspent in the contracted service line due to the vacancies in 2022. You want to talk about what vacancies those are? Do you know?
Which vacancies is he respond for?
I don't know.
No,
Oh,
I'm not saying Amy.
Could be Mandy.
Oh, could be, yeah, okay.
Or the agriculture.
Which is
She's
okay,
reading.
yeah. Staff updates. With the passing of the 2023 budget, I am moving forward with the following positions.
Madison's position, and now half the year with Dave's position.
Health and well-being educator, position description is being developed with the intent to post it in January of 23. The anticipated start date would be around April 1st. Regional dairy educator to be posted in January 23. Regional crops
Thank you.
educator, rollout plan in December for implementation in early 23. Regional positive youth development educator, with funding in place, conversations have begun in scoping this role. It does utilize an existing FTE. The timetable for implementation has not been determined. Department and facility updates, no major updates. Area and state updates, the
Well, Karen.
2020. Oh, yes.
As far as facility updates go, so you probably can't hear me very well. We are on the list for carpet replacement meeting rooms
Okay,
within the next year, we think. We just haven't gotten a solidified date yet.
okay.
There are some sections in the big conference room where carpets bubbled up. It's a bit of a trip hazard, so they're working on trying to get that temporarily fixed
Okay.
until the carpet's replaced. And then we've also worked with facilities to get some floor mats to use to cover up cords. So when we have the big hybrid meetings and the virtual
Mhm.
meetings, we reduce the trip hazards. And
Very
so that's
good.
something that we just recently did.
The question I have is that does the facilities do the carpet replacement or is that contracted out?
I believe they're contracted, I think, but that would be a
Yeah,
question
and
for
it's- If you want to
facilities.
get it done, the suggestion would be as contracted out. With everything going on, otherwise you'll never get it done.
Those are the original carpets.
These are the original carpets?
From 1978, yes.
Okay, a lot of history in these carpets.
Yeah, no.
Area and state updates. The 2023 UW Winnebago County contract for extension educators has been routed for review and signature by the county executive. Two sections were added. The first 3.2 replaces the separate FoodWise annual agreement. This refers to the use of space, internet and tech, and some office supplies in exchange for the FoodWise team to have an active presence in the community. Section 3.3 has been added to acknowledge requests for regional or state educators, administrators to be in county offices. Currently, Winnebago County is the base office for Chad Cook, Associate Director of Outreach for the Natural Resources Institute.
And I did give you guys copies of the contract. If you don't have it, let me know. You have extras now.
Other updates, there will be an extension all-colleague conference December 5th through 7th in Madison. All UW extension staff are expected to participate in the event. Extension has invited county staff to register and attend relevant portions of the event. I have encouraged them to attend if there is relevant content and their schedules allow. And that's the end of his report. And you can ask me any questions you want.
I guess if you have any questions, just write them on your piece of paper. And we
Yeah.
can check back with Chris next month, he'll be here. From there, we'll go on to announcing upcoming extension events at the county board meeting for discussion. Has anybody got anything they want to bring forward in December?
Is there parties going on or? So really, there's not. And if it's in the book, it's.
Are you going to the Thanksgiving party?
Never one of those.
Is it Thanksgiving or Christmas?
They have a Thanksgiving dinner, but it's,
It's the
You don't-
saddest thing.
you don't ever want to go to that.
They're actually not doing that one this year.
I mean, that's the saddest. I mean, one lady was dying and she didn't know where her grandson was gonna go. Another one, the mother was in prison and now the dad was wanting to get the son, never seen a kid in 12 years. He was on drugs and, you know, he wanted to.
He heard there was money involved if he.
The
if he got
disability
kid.
check, and she didn't know how she was gonna get a lawyer to fight that. And another one, the child was aging out of the program and didn't know where he was gonna get the care he needed, you know, it's like, if this is what Thanksgiving's all about, I'm sure glad I don't have to go to more than one of them, because when I left, I was totally like, what can you do to help these people, you know, I mean, it's like,
Well,
they put the kids, they go into a separate room, and then the parents or the grandparents get to discuss what's going on in their lives, and they're all, you know, they're not dealing with children that are basically, you know, they all have problems, and it's very difficult to deal with that, you know, it's not like if you or I would take somebody's grandkid that's doing well in school and playing soccer, it would be, you know, just like raising your own child. But when you have children that are in special needs and things like that, and you yourself don't have the financial resources to help them, so then you're looking for,
And you're an aging population.
yeah, it
Yeah,
was,
you've done that once already. You really are looking at.
When you
doing
have
it
some
again
energy.
and again.
I would, yeah, and I would.
And some of them are great grandparents raising children that have.
Yeah, it was a sad event, and, you know,
and at some point, it appears that oftentimes people don't want to take responsibility for themselves and their actions. And where do we say, you know, hey, fuck up?
yeah, well, most of them are in jail or in prison, the parents. So it's
Or
like
they
either the
already
grandparents take this child or put it in foster care, you know, and then
Sure.
when the dad comes and, you know, he's basically addicted to drugs and alcohol, and now he finds the mother, the grandparents have the kid, well, he'd like to get the money that they're getting, so now he wants the child, never seen a kid in 12 years, but all of a sudden, he's just gonna come before Christmas and wants to
Yeah.
take this child out of your home, you know? So, yeah, it wasn't a good situation.
Do we refer these children to human ser, or your grandparents to human services or legal aid when they're needed? Because if they need resources, I think we should hook them up.
Yeah, they do, they give them all the resources that the county has to offer that,
They're connected with people from, yep.
Yep, so the people who participate in the grandparents raising grandchildren group with our office are actually referred to us from Human Services. It's a kinship care program, so they already are signed up for some partnership.
So they're
I
here.
heard
working.
one grandparent need, you know, legal help. I mean, and we contact legal aid and get them involved. And that's not a county program, it's a, you know, public program. And I know some works for them, and I hope we are looking at people with services, need services. Okay.
I think that if I remember right, the biggest thing is they want you to do it for them. They want you to get them more money. And I guess the phrase, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, comes to mind. They have to put something into it too. And some of them have, and they could be valid excuses for not doing it. I don't have a car. I can't get down there, whatever.
Well, that's where we can
Yeah.
coordinate things. That's, you know,
But somebody has to do it.
I agree, but I mean, I'm just saying, you know,
No, you're right.
you comment about leading a horse to water, but only if the horse knows there's water there. that's my comment. I hope we are making people aware of their services, legal aid, county services, yeah, because if we don't do something now, eventually it's gonna maybe cost us more, and that's what I'm saying. So I've been to this dinner once too, a couple years ago before COVID, and I heard these stories.
That's what they're with me. So you heard
And-
exactly
and,
what I heard.
Yeah, and I feel for these, these grandparents who can just take these kids, take them away, why, and Karen's right, because there's money involved, but like I say, human services, that's a county, legal aid, that's not a county, and if there can be help, fine, and Tom, you're exactly right, they have to be willing participants too, so I agree with that too.
It's a few years since I've been involved with management, like the attendance and the mailings and stuff for this group, but the grandparents raising grandchildren group that our office is participating as part of, we don't provide the legal services, we don't provide the health services, we can connect people. So our coordinators used to be Mandy, so currently Todd's filling in until we have a replacement educator, but then also Sandy, she is our coordinator for the program as well. They get these people connected to the people in the county or in the community that can provide the services or the help that they need. They're basically just the connections. But the group itself here through the county, through our building, our last couple of years outside of the building, the main focus is a support group. So it provides an opportunity for the grandparents and great grandparents and aunts, uncles, whatever family members it is, taking care of these kids to have a little bit of a break where they can get together and discuss what's going on, the sort of challenges they're experiencing, and also the highs and the lows, and just not feel so alone. So it's not necessarily like a handout program by any means, but it's definitely that support group.
And that's exactly what I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
and
too.
they do
I worked-
alternate kind of like fun events and educational events with the discussion group. So they tried to alternate it in the past. And over COVID, they haven't been able to meet here in the building because we haven't had childcare. So they've been very creative in going out and like going to door, making phone calls, doing Zoom conversations to touch base with these families and see how they're doing, see if there's anybody that they can connect them with. And they have recently this year done a couple of events where they rented out a movie theater for the families to go and see a movie together with other families and with the kids. And that way there was nobody else from the public. It was just their group. And with them all being higher risk for COVID, that was really nice. And they had a pizza party and they went bowling and some other fun stuff just for them to be able to get out of the house and do something fun as a family and with other families who are in like situations as them. So hopefully that helps
That's ex-
reiterate a little bit the
Yeah, it
difference
does,
between this
but-
program and some of the other county programs. Yeah.
I worked for a few years when I first started here with that group and did a lot of the childcare. And it was an amazing thing to know that the parents and grandparents were getting that support that they needed to bond with those other families, to be connected to those other resources, to have guest speakers come in and share, to feel safe. And that's what the kids felt too. I
Yeah.
worked with the kids and you could tell what was going on in those kids' lives depending on their behavior each month. But it was the most meaningful thing I had done for a long time. Every month, eating with them and then playing with them and learning what they were going through. It really meant a lot. And to know that they felt safe here. And parents would tell us, like, they would drive by and they said, that's my favorite building in the whole world, or
Oh.
that's where I want to go. And just it's a neat, caring, supportive, safe place for those families to come and to learn and to share. So,
As far as Thanksgiving, they usually do like a Thanksgiving meal. The last 2 years they did kind of like a drive-by
yeah.
sort of thing for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. This year, our coordinator, Sandy, she's actually been out of commission for the last couple of months. She was dealing with the surgery. So we didn't have an event in October and I don't think that they're doing anything in November because it's just too close for her coming back. But they are trying to coordinate something for Christmas. So if anybody is interested in getting involved to volunteer or donate time or resources or whatever, Sandy Bell is our coordinator, or Todd Wenzel. Either of them will be the person to reach out to.
It's a great program. It's just, it takes a special kind of person to deal with situations like that.
Yeah.
Those are the nights that I could say I needed to get out of here before 12 o'clock, before the alarm went off, because after those families left, some of us would just sit there and we'd have to we didn't talk about the personal stories or connections, but just had to decompress and have that time together to just, I don't know, wind down, get our own hearts back where they needed to be. Because it was a tough night every night. I did it every night or every month.
It
for a
is
few years.
so important to identify that I am not the only one in this position.
Right.
I had several miscarriages and it was all on me. I was the one who was not capable of taking care of this, of being able to reproduce, of being able to, I was the only one, only to discover that I wasn't the only one, that there were any number of people out there who said, been there, done that, and understand that some people grieve over their Gucci handbag being stolen. Thank you both for having this and making sure that people have that outside support, that they're not isolated as the only one.
They're not the only ones.
The other thing I want to say is, hey gang, how about us? 35 people on Harrison Street
What?
for our new facility to care for these young people. Way to go. That was super. Yeah. Outstanding.
Next, we'll move on to the Diversity Affairs Commission. Action on resolution to dissolve the Diversity Affairs Commission as passed in the September 8th meeting. I can start out the discussion on that. When I went to the Wisconsin County Association, I actually went to 2 seminars on that. And right now most counties are working towards that goal. Out of the 4 presenters, none of them had their strategic plan nor their bylaws passed. We have ours passed. I mean, they need some work. They need to be amended, but we were further than the other 4 counties that were doing a presentation there. And Door County hired a consultant to help them for $40,000. I mean, maybe that's something we'll want to look at in the future, but the extension office now is willing to help support the commission. So I think that the commission needs to reach out to Chris and get on a page where they'll have people there to help support them. And I also would reach out to Beth Roberts. She was instrumental in helping, when we started that commission. If you think it's hard now, you should have started with nothing, because that's what we started with. We worked on that for 2 years with not one, and I didn't even realize there was a problem. I live in a middle-class white neighborhood, and when Mike asked me if I wanted to come to one of these meetings and I actually see the way other people are being treated, I never realized it because I don't see it. It doesn't happen where I live, and unless you're looking for it, you don't see it. So I would suggest that they continue. They have a nice agenda. If anybody read it for tonight, I think this is the way they need to go. I think they need to get a hold of Chris. They need to get a hold of Beth Roberts. They need to get the people involved to help them move forward. That's what we did. We had Mandy and Beth Roberts. They worked behind the scenes. We would have an hour-and-a-half meeting and give them direction how we wanted to go and what we wanted to see. And they worked. And then the next month we had a meeting. They had something to show us, and then we would refine it and work on it some more. And it took me and the committee 3 times with our bylaws and the strategic plan to get the county board to approve. You were there, and every time when they would take it down, I felt like, why? I mean, we worked hard on this 2 years, and month after month, we'd bring that back, and I wrote a resolution so the citizens members on that committee would be paid, because I didn't feel it was fair that we have 11 committees that have citizens, and every one of them committees get paid per diem and mileage. The Diversity Affairs Commission did not get paid. It was all strictly volunteer. Starting January 1st, they get per diem and mileage. So I worked to get that for that commission because I thought it was unfair. I told the commission if I couldn't get them help, I would agree with them. Chris agreed to give you and the commission the support that they needed. So now you have the support that you need. You need to contact him and get him on board whenever you're next, he's on vacation tonight. So, I mean, we know he's not going to be able to help you on this meeting, but the next meeting I would think that he would be able to help you with. I would definitely get a hold of Beth Roberts. She's on the City of Oshkosh Diversity Affairs Commission, so she has knowledge of there. She's very knowledgeable. I mean, she helped us a lot with the strategic plan and the bylaws. But it was probably out of all the committees I was on, it was the toughest committee because it wasn't established. We were basically reinventing something. You know, when you get appointed to a committee like this, you have 3 or 4 people that know what they're doing. We've been on it a long time. We can advise you.
It has history, it has,
Yeah, that had nothing. When I got on that committee, we had absolutely nothing. You know, you actually right now at least have a strategic plan and a bylaw. You may not think it's the greatest and it needs to be reworked, but it's a plan. And other counties, the other 4 counties that presented at the county association didn't even have a plan yet. They were still working on it, you know? So it's like you're further right now than most counties are. And to throw away 2 years worth of our effort, I personally just can't do it. You know, I'm going to vote to move it and keep it going forward. And if people don't believe in it and don't want to do the work on it, maybe they shouldn't be on the committee and get somebody. I see you have 2 new people that want to be on it. I think, you know, we need people that are enthusiastic, that want to move it forward. And I agree 100%. You didn't get the support you needed. You know, you were abandoned, and it would not be possible to even work in them. You know, you can't get nothing accomplished in an hour and a half a month. You need support staff to work on it throughout the month. And I think Chris will give you that support now. And I think if you can get Beth Roberts involved, she will help you. So, I mean, she helped us a lot. So that would be my recommendation. I'll open up for anybody else for discussion.
Can I make a motion?
You sure can.
I move that the Diversity Affairs Commission, continue to move forward with the help of, or with the assistance of the UW Extension staff, Chris Vial specifically, and they continue to persevere. They seem to be making some headway, Jerry. Or Steve, you made a lot of good points. Could I see that one, Steve?
That's their agenda for tonight. They have a meeting at 5:30.
So that's my motion.
I'll second it. Any discussion?
Oh, you betcha. First off, I would like to write or talk about Article 4, duties of the officers of this commission. And under the title of chair, the chair shall be responsible for coordinating the oversight of the entire commission. This includes the direct oversight and delegation of meeting scheduling and coordination, ensuring that all county rules are followed. Additionally, the chair shall work with the steering committee membership to create and publish agendas and minutes, assign committee work, and manage the overall function of the commission. So basically, we are the chairman of the Diversity Affairs Commission is the one who is in charge of all of this, as I understand this bylaw. Am I correct or am I incorrect?
it sounds like the things that the chairmen of all committees and commissions do, isn't it? Is that what you do?
It's basically like my job in this committee today is to oversee the meeting and facilitate it.
Yeah.
Chris is here to help me and the staff is here. You didn't have the support staff. I have the support staff. I have Chris, I have Amy to help me. Chris, basically, we sit down and we write an agenda together. I have input on the agenda, like for the UW Oshkosh Fox Cities. Monday, I have a pre-trustee meeting with Martin Rudd and Yvonne from Outagamie County. At 9 o'clock, we write the agenda for the trustees meeting. It's my job. It's part of what I do if I take this job as a chairman, you know, and it's like, this wasn't on here. I had to basically add it to the agenda. If I wouldn't have caught it, it wouldn't have been on here today.
Well, thank you very much for doing that. Now, my next question is,
Just a point of clarification, there's a motion and second on the floor. Is what you're talking about dealing with the motion on the floor? If it isn't, we should vote on that and then go into her stuff.
I call for the
I
question.
thought it was discussion,
Well, he made a resolution and I seconded it. So
and there's no discussion?
Well, there is, but it's on
the
the
resolution.
motion. Is this dealing with the motion?
Is this dealing with the motion? At what point do I get to say
discuss
anything.
it, yeah. What happens is, the motion says that we're going to direct. Who are we gonna direct?
We're gonna direct them to move
Extension
forward.
staff.
The extension staff to move forward on it, and that's all
Move
that
forward,
is.
correct.
Okay,
And then once that is done, then I would think that what she's talking about, because you're talking about changes or interpretation of what that is. Am I right? or wrong?
Well, if we pass
Yeah.
Doug's motion, then it's done.
Yeah, but I mean, what she's talking about, should that be done now or later on?
when,
It should have been done before the resolution, before Doug made the motion.
did I get a chance?
You didn't. It's like sometimes at the county board meeting, there's 10 people up there wanting to talk, and somebody calls the question.
So discussion is finished, correct?
Yeah, if he called the question, the
Call for the
discussion,
question.
discussion is done. If he called the
Can-
question, and he did.
Can I ask one more question?
I would be fine with it. It's
Sure.
up to the rest of
Go
them.
ahead. I just,
Thank you.
what
I was
The
letting you
next-
move
thank
forward.
you. The next question is the extension the actual overseer committee of this, or is the DAC an entity in and of itself? Because again, as I see the bylaws, it appears that the DAC is the overseer of itself.
How it works is you basically, like when we drew up the strategic plan and the bylaws, we had to bring it to the extension committee and present it to the extension committee. And then the extension committee could make recommendations to us, and they brought it to the county board.
So the extension brought it to the county board.
They basically are the overseer of, we're the ones that basically started the Diversity Affairs Commission, was started through the extension. We got it passed through the county board that we wanted to start a Diversity Affairs Commission, which was a makeup of 2 county board members, 1 from the extension committee and 1 from the county board, and 5 citizens. The extension started that, and that's the way that the commission was basically run. Anything that they wanted to move forward to the county board comes to the extension. We approve it or disapprove it, and then it goes to the county board. That's the rules I worked under for 2 years.
Okay,
And that's the way
So-
when we started it, we actually ran this basically as a group, probably for 18 months. And then we just thought it was beneficial to get county support. So that's why Mike and myself brought it to the extension, because we had to find some
entity.
ownership of the commission. You know, we couldn't just start a commission with no staff. If we could get the extension to take the oversight of the commission, then we could use their staff. You know, otherwise you have no staff. If you want to be in charge of yourself, then there's no staff to basically facilitate your needs. And that's why we took it through the extension, so that we could get Mandy, Chris, and I believe Jody did our secretary work. And that's how we, because otherwise your commission would be a commission with no county employees, other than the 2 county board members. So that's why it was brought through the extension office. That's how we did it. If you think there's a better way to do it, you and your group can try to rewrite it and take it to the county board and move it to a different, if you want to take it to personnel, you want to go to human services. This is the way we did it, because we thought it basically, most other counties work through the extension office. So we did it as our predecessors did it. We followed their procedure because we didn't want to reinvent the wheel. So we just followed somebody else's lead, and that's the way we did it for 2 years. Everything came through the extension to the county board. And when they turned it down, then the Diversity Affairs Commission would work on the bylaws. They would have to present them to the extension. We would have to present them to the county board. And 3 times they turned us down. And it's very disheartening when you put all that work in there and you go there and these people pick it apart. And every time I'd ask them, we meet on this day, why don't you attend the meeting and we can work on this together? And not one county board member would attend that meeting. But yet when we came there the next month, they would just hammer away on us for things they didn't like. And it's like, why couldn't you have came to the meeting and we could have solved them
sounds like you're talking about where I am right now. What I have found is that the people who have been a part of this since the beginning have not been a part now. And a great deal of what we as the Diversity Affairs Commission do is being addressed elsewhere. I wonder if the KISS sample of keep it simple is something that we need to do here, because as we've been discussing this morning, is there are any number of ways that this is happening through other departments. It's happening through 4-H, it's happening through Extension, it's happening through Human Services, it's happening through UWO, it's happening through the city of Oshkosh. Are we just going to add to some of the complication of this? That's my question, and I hope, Tom, that that's relevant to the question on the table.
Well, in my mind, and I'm not an expert at this, but right now, because there's a motion on, you vote on that, and a lot of the things you're talking about would go back to your committee. And your committee would say, you know, we want to change this. And then like Steve was saying, what would happen is that you make a formal presentation to the extension here, and then they would take that and move it up the ladder. And that's where I'm just trying to make a point, is that if we keep on doing this, you're gonna have to make amendments left and right to this whole thing that then, yeah. So that's.
Which calls into question,
Oh, yeah.
does this,
And you're one.
is this relevant?
You have a committee, and once the committee gets together, what you're talking about would be definitely your committee coming back there and saying, okay, we need these changes made. And how are we gonna do that? And really, all this is doing right now, if I understand it correctly, is that we're just saying, yes, go ahead, meet, make a plan, adjust the plan from what it was, whatever you need. And then if I'm right, they bring it back through here, say, these are changes we want to make. We would then approve it or disapprove it, but I don't see why we disapprove it, and send it up the pipe to get looked at by Mary Ann and then adjust it to by the board.
And Joel, thank you, because when you and I were speaking earlier, it's talking to the education of this.
And then there are no.
I believe everybody's heart is in the right place. It's just how do you get there?
Yes, and I'm frustrated too. How can you talk?
I mean,
When do you talk?
do we have the support prior to April? Do we disband until April? And in April, does that person then, are they on board to being able to help us, or do we wait until June to continue? These are,
My feeling is you should talk to Chris when he gets back. I think Chris will help facilitate some of your problems. And you can work on, like, we worked on stuff as a group for 18 months before we move forward. If there's things in here that you basically can get speakers that you wish to get, you can basically work on the bylaws so that you can present them to the new person when they arrive. You can ask the county board to get a diversity coordinator consultant for $40,000 if that's what you choose to do. But if you choose to give up, then you threw away 2 years worth of work because you don't want to go forward. And that's the part that I can't deal with.
and I am not convinced that we want to dissolve it entirely. It's just, are we duplicating services that are already in place? And
Those are
to
things that can be
me,
discussed at your meeting.
Well, it's kind of like anything that we have. Is this the Winnebago County duplicating what the city of Oshkosh provides? City of Oshkosh has a city hall. The county has a courthouse. It's a large community, 170 some residents. The city of Oshkosh has a diversity affairs commission. They reach so many people. The more people you got trying, the better chance you got at getting a result. You know, it's like if one person tries to pull a semi with a rope, he probably isn't going to do it. You put 10 people on that rope, it might actually move. And it's the same with this. You know, if you want to say, well, 6 people can do this, you don't need 12, but 12 people can probably do it better because they can reach more people. You know, like our goal with the public input was to reach as many people as we can, because if they believed in this, they're going to tell other people, and then they're going to educate. And that was our goal, was to basically get as many people involved because the more people you got thinking that it's not right to treat people poorly, the easier we can solve the problem, you know, and that was what my goal was. My goal was, and I basically, in my neighborhood, there is no problem. You know, we all basically get along, there's no, you know, the kids play, but it's, you go like on Broad Street over by the Gosh building, and you look at them houses, missing windows, missing doors, you know, you shouldn't have to live like that, you know, and we need to basically help them so that they want to go to school and get educated. And, you know, we don't want people picking on them because they don't have nice clothes. And, you know, it's like when you go to school and you got holes in your shirt and maybe it's not washed and people pick on you, you don't want to get up and go to school the next day. Why do you want to go there and have people call you names? And, you know, we have to educate people. They're not coming there because they want to be there in that type of environment and get picked on. They'd like to get an education just like everybody else, and they'd like to live in a nice house, and they'd like to have a nice car. But unfortunately, circumstances, you know, until 1964, colored people couldn't eat at a lunch counter. You know, they couldn't ride in the front seat of a bus. You know, they've been here for 200 years, but they've been held back and not given equal rights. You know, they didn't integrate the schools. If you say your husband basically integrated the schools. So they only had basically 60 years worth of, and they're still not really accepted in those schools in a lot of them. They still have people that don't believe they should be there. You know, and that's all we're trying to do is raise awareness, you know, however the commission can do it.
And I am not going to argue that with you. I believe we all have the same intention. It's how we get there.
Right. And
That's
what
at issue. And as you say, I believe that we have not had the support. We have not had anybody. Steve, you and I and Mike, we have heard about this through this. And that's as much history as we, as the commission, have had. We have started brand spanking new. All of the people who were there, well, Catherine has been there since the start, and Jared since December, but that's the only history that we have. And boy, when I got on the board, we did not even have a meeting until August, and it was difficult to get that established, as you know. I am going to say that the people who are on this commission are absolutely outstanding people. And the fact that we are going to come up with our 7 with our total quota is outstanding. I believe the people on the commission see their position as a voluntary basis, and for them to get a per diem and mileage back is in addition to. So I thank you all for hearing me, for listening to me. If some of the historic people could come and be involved, we would appreciate it.
And I'll be honest with you, I would have asked if they wanted my help, and your chairman has never asked me. And if I'm going to come there and only be able to speak for 2 minutes in the public comment, I have a hard time holding my tongue when I have things I want to say. So I stay away for that reason. Because I basically don't want to go there and disrupt your meeting because I'm frustrated because I'd like to make a comment and I can't. But Mr. Longstein has never contacted me. He's never asked me to attend a meeting. And if they want my help, I'm more than happy. For basically all that time, I never took a dime, and I could have took the $50 in the mileage. I didn't take it because the citizens that get paid, I didn't want to get paid. If they would like me to come to that meeting, I'll be happy to come to that meeting, but it would have to be like as a part of the facilitating, where if they needed some advice on what we did in the past, that, you know, I can talk for 2 minutes at the beginning, then I might as well leave, because I couldn't sit there and listen to some of the stuff and not be able to make a comment, you know? So that's why I have not attended any of your meetings, but I did offer, and I never received anybody that actually asked me to attend the meeting.
Okay, so I understand we need to extend an invitation for people to come to the meeting. Is that what I'm hearing?
I would, if I,
For full voice, seat and voice, not necessarily vote, but full seat and voice.
if you want me to attend the meeting, I have to be able to talk more than, like Supervisor Borchert came to the meeting and he was told that he could talk for 2 minutes. He attended a lot of our meetings. He had a lot of knowledge. He had some information that he thought was pertinent to the commission, but they wouldn't let him talk.
Okay.
You know, and it's hard to go there, just like for yourself, if you attend a meeting like today, I let Mike talk because we didn't have the library and it wasn't gonna be a noon meeting.
I appreciate that hugely. And Mike, your input is huge. Thank you.
I have a question. Is Melissa Stafford related to Brian?
His wife.
And I recognize Timar's name, so. Okay.
So if we're getting back to where it is, we have a motion on the floor.
And a
The
second.
motion is just to say, go ahead, do your thing. And that means then that your committee would meet and take action of what you want to do, what you want to change, how you want to change it. Make a formal request back to this committee for anything you want changed, and then it'll go up the food chain and come back down. So we still have that motion on the floor, but it's just to tell you to go ahead and work your things out. Am I right in stating that? way?
Amy, could you please make sure that the discussion of the invitation needs to be extended is in the minutes, please? Thank you.
We'll vote on it then. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
Okay. So we have 4-1. Then we go to the scholarship task force updates.
Well, the task force met and I contacted Mary Ann and in plenty of time. And she said, Karen, I am so swamped. Can I call you back? I said, sure. She never called back. So it did not make the November meeting, but she's on my list to call this week. I'll be calling her when I get home today. This, I don't know. She gets, yeah. So we decided that we were going to ask for the scholarships to be doubled and for 2023. And we presented as a resolution at the December meeting. And I'm not gonna let Mary Ann put me off again. No more of this, I'm too busy, can I call you back? No, you won't. Been there, done that.
So I have one quick question, Steve, so I understand Karen correctly.
Yeah,
Karen and Kay are both on this.
yeah.
So you're gonna bring a resolution. Now, the money was turned down at the budget time, right? Correct? I mean, you can ask
We-
for, you can ask for it again.
What we
You can.
asked, what they decided to do was simply take money from the scholarship reserve of the $9,000. And I had asked that they would do that, plus put the 9,000 back from the levy. So that would make 18,000 and they turned that down. So even if we go forward and ask for 18,000 instead of 9,000, there is money in the scholarship reserve to cover that, but it only covered for 2.5 years. And then we had to make some other plans. So,
I just want to put fair warning,
yeah,
more notice in the morning, or should I
Yeah.
put it that way? When this comes up, I'm gonna act to amend some changes in this. Because my personally feel, I'll wait till those are presented to the county board floor. We're done at budget time. I appreciate the work you two have been doing, but I think this program needs a different focus, so that's, I'm gonna attempt to do. I may not get through, and you can talk to me later about it tomorrow time, but that's what I'm gonna try to do, come to the floor, okay?
In the discussion that we had, I was charged with going over and finding out how we might change the questions that are asked. And at that meeting, I understood that if you chose to go to the University of Hawaii, you would still get that scholarship. I would like to think in terms of if we are going to, as a county board, give a scholarship, that we would choose to have students who are going to Wisconsin schools so that we can potentially keep them here, and that they might have actually explored as an intern being a person who goes around with a supervisor, being a person who goes around with an elected official, having hands-on education. So these are the two things that I am going to plan on bringing up. If I go to the University of Hawaii, I gotta tell you, I'm likely to stay out in Hawaii. I would like to think that they would be here and working in our workforce, which we need people for.
By that logic, you'd only want kids to go to school in Winnebago County. Because they could end up going to Madison and stay in Madison and do SWAT for the county. I don't see, well, that's something else for another discussion.
Yeah.
It's not for this.
Go to River Falls.
Just, yeah.
There is only one college, that's River Falls, isn't it?
I thought it was Whitewater.
River Falls, that proud university of some.
Yeah, we'll move on to comments from the committee members.
I'd like to thank Steve, Kay, Tom, and Mike for all the work you have done with the Diversity Affairs Commission. Outstanding work, dedicated. You never gave up, especially Steve. So salute.
I
Thank
do
you.
believe it's something that we really need, and, you know, I see how, and I didn't see how people were treated until I opened my eyes. I basically, I had like blindfolders on, I would basically, go into a store and I ask somebody for something, they'll take me right to it. But if you see somebody of sometimes a color, they'll say, oh, it's down aisle 14, I had 2 roofs put on this year, and not a person on that roof could speak English. They work from 7 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock at night. I'm sure they got paid very little, but they don't need to be treated like that. They basically, they're people are taking advantage of them, and I just like to see, them treated fairly so that they can have a life like we have. And I think that's the American dream is to basically own a home and, raise a family. And, I look at the people on right down from where the By Gosh building is, living in houses with no windows and doors. I mean, it's like,
What is the by gosh?
Oshkosh bagosh.
oh, that's
The CAD
the
building.
CAD building.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We call it Oshkosh.
Oshkosh?
That was, our younger son called it Oshkosh.
I probably should use this name, the
Thank
CAD
you.
building, but to me, it's always gonna be the Oshkosh By Gosh building. It basically was a factory for 100 years, throwing
Yeah.
overalls,
That's right. Wonderful. overall.
Wonderful. Yeah, I wore them bib overalls for 40 years.
Or King Industries, remember King?
The seamstress would make dresses?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was,
Well, I remember factory. I remember the Kings.
I did a story on a guy, he worked there for 60 years and he never missed a day of work at King Industries, an old timer.
Yeah.
Well, and we had Jersels up in Neenah, didn't we?
Jersey was
Public comment. Over the course of my, 7 months, 8 months, my husband has been a huge support. He tells me that I overspeak. I am chatty Cathy, but he gave me 2 words that I would like to pass on. One of them is ad rem. One of them is ad hominem. The ad rem means that we discuss, we have a subject that is open to debate. And you talk back and forth in opposing positions, but you come to an understanding. The ad hominem is where I can potentially start pointing a finger and it becomes personal. I would just like us all to remember these 2 words: open to discussion and open to person, and pointing the finger. It's enormous in my moving forward, I hope. That's one of the things I'm prayerful about. And I keep on reiterating it because I want it to become a part of who I am. Thank goodness he's a diplomat. Thank you.
My comment is that this budget session to me was my 3rd one, and there was an elephant sitting in the back of the room. And I got to see it, I think. And one of the things that's happening here is that we have this budget, And we overspend, but then we take out of our excess funds to pay for that. Well, that's gonna come to an end someday, and then we as a board of supervisors are gonna have to make a decision, and the decision is gonna be raise taxes or cut services. One of the things that I noticed in the budget presentation, which we did in 3 days, is I noticed the lack of, how do I want to put it? What we're doing. We have 172,000 people in our county. And Sarah, I know you know how many people you've been servicing. But nothing was brought up about that. You know, how many people are we actually reaching out to in our county? We just talked about more money and adding and all that. And let's say the building that we were talking about that we just bought for that it's building number 18, I believe. We have 17 buildings that should be built in 18. Mike Ellers hasn't added any staff. And then we last year went through and saw how some of our facilities are maybe not being maintained. Mike's doing the best job he can have with what he has, but he doesn't have enough people. And together, we got to put this together somehow. And I don't know how it's going to be, but sooner or later, the county's going to sit down and make a decision. Now, what scares me a tad bit is the fact that we have a 6-hour budget session or a 3-day budget session, and we're slashing and we're done. You know, and you're in hopes that the departments have done all that, but I'm reluctant in seeing that right now. I found some holes in the dike, and I'm trying to bring that up. I'm going to try to get it on the finance and personnel. Is that right? P&L. To find out, you know, how you do it. What is the capability of work? How many people can I do? And that's how come, Sarah, you were my example today, where there's one person. You can't do the whole county. So then what are your qualifications and what you're doing? I like what she said is that it's kind of a building program and then 4-H comes in and takes over. That makes sense to me. But we have it, and Stephen Bender and I talk about highways and how they do roads, but they don't quite get them all done. What are we in parking lots? We have, how many parking lots we're supposed to do this year?
We're supposed to do all the parking lots in County Park, and we got 4 done, so I think there's 5 left to do. And those got pushed back. We had 750,000 at the time, would have done all of them. We spent 500,000 to do 4 of them. So there's no way there's gonna be enough money to finish them, because asphalt went from probably $39 a ton to over 50, and cost of labor goes up, the price of diesel fuel goes up. So when we budgeted that money, we had enough money to basically do all the parking lots, and now we're probably gonna get maybe 6, maybe 7. So we'll probably have to come back to the county board for another $300,000 or $400,000 because the project got dragged out. But they want us to use the county highway department versus bidding it out to Northeast, because they figured that way the money stays in the county. You know, the parks takes the 500,000, pays the highway department employees, and if we pay the Northeast employees, then the money has to come out of some other entity of the county to pay the highway department employees.
And what rolls into that though is that if you're going to do a project like that, and you could say, there it is, there's the money, do it whenever you get around to it, fine. But there should be some accountability. You know, can you do this work in this time? Do it. And you have to have 3 elements for a project. You have to have the money that's being worked on. They're getting the monies approved earlier. In January, we should have the monies approved for some projects. For this year, we're sitting here now, and at the end of the year, not all the projects are approved, I think. Am I right?
None of the projects are approved for 2023, but it's gonna change this year. They're gonna do a presentation in January, and we're gonna approve all the capital improvement projects in February.
All right.
So they'll be able to go out for bid after the county board meeting in February.
So that helps on one of the elements. And that element is we have to have the money to do it. Okay, we can check that box. The next thing we have to have is we have to have the materials to do it. Well, you got to order the materials, you have to have the money. That makes sense. And then the third thing is you have to have the manpower to do it. Do you have the manpower? And can it be set aside to do it at a certain time? So this is what I'm dealing with. And this is, like I say, that elephant's a big honking elephant sitting in the back of the room, because one thing goes into another, and it's a philosophy which I do believe in talking to Ms. Blackmere and that I am correct, and in talking with Steve, is that, you know, the accountability, you gotta have those, and we're not good at that right now. We've identified it and we're working on it. But that coming back to like Sarah and that, what you're doing is right. And somewhere in the future, I'm gonna guess that Chris is gonna start having to provide figures on, okay, how many people have we touched? How are we doing it? And then if you have to cut services, now you can determine, well, if we only touch so many people here, maybe we shouldn't use that manpower here. Maybe we should put it over here. Did you get all that?
I will.
So anyhow, that's just after 6 years, this is what I'm thinking right now, and it's no, yeah, there's some directions we can fall in, but it's not easy. It's not easy to get the people to talk about it. Okay, I'm done.
I appreciate that.
Oh.
Thank you. We need to talk about these things. And again, my question is, when 41 is plowed, that's federal dollars that comes to
State
the
dollars.
state.
Dollars.
So federal money goes to the state comes to us.
The highway department is an enterprise fund, so any work the highway department does, if they work for a town, they build a town. If they work for like the parks department, they build the parks. If they work for the state, they build the state. So they're basically time and material. They're not on the tax levy.
But is that the state highway or is it
Highway
federal?
41 is a state highway.
It's
So
not,
it's
no.
state dollars coming in.
Isn't it a federal? I thought it was
It's a state highway.
an interstate. An interstate, isn't that federal?
They get the money from the state, I can tell you that.
Okay,
I mean,
thank you. I've been wondering about how all of that happens.
we got 5 enterprise funds. Every enterprise fund is not on a tax levy, that they pay for themselves. So we actually give no money to the highway department. They basically, it's time and material. So any work they do, what facilities isn't, like when facilities is putting the lights up right now at the parks department, that money is in their budget and they don't bill. They just send the electrician over there, they put the lights up, and that's part of their job. So that's why they're in a tax levy.
Thank you all for starting to educate me. My next question is Dr. Topol, Human Services, he has money that he's going to put back into the general fund, is how I understood it last Tuesday.
That's correct.
Is
That
that
means-
because
We over budgeted. He didn't produce a product. We budgeted, say, like $46 million last year, and he only had $43 million in expenses. So the money he's giving back is the money we budgeted that he didn't need.
But he got some money from the state. too, yeah.
They always get money from the state, about half.
And he gets some money from the feds. And it's not that he doesn't know how to budget, it's that you spend money in budget year 21 and you don't see anything coming in 22. So you make another budget that goes for 23. And sometime in 23, the money comes in for something you spent in 21. And so you've gone through 3 budget cycles before he sees being paid for what he did in 2021. That's how long that's how long it sometimes takes the government to get the money back, which is why he budgets for what he knows he needs and what he's already spent, not knowing when or if the money he spent in 21 is ever going to show up in 23 or 24 or 25, but eventually it comes down.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
I
then one
always-
more thing is that on the highway department, like Steve's saying, the highway department gets paid with state funds for plowing snow. But you don't plow snow all summer. So they have to find something else for them to do in order to maintain your workforce. So when it comes time to plow snow, hence the building roads. Now that does come out of our budget, right?
County roads, the highway department bills the county for those. So the county has a budget for road maintenance. So when the county works on a county road, they bill the county for that road that they're building.
Also,
They still bill the county. It
they're
comes out
still
of,
called that fund, whatever you call
right, they have a road fund for the highway department.
it. Okay, so then
So they take that money out of that fund, just like for snow plowing. They have a snow plowing fund for the county. And when they plow snow, it gets out of the county. You know, they probably have like 3 million, I didn't look this year, but it's probably like $3 million for road maintenance. And then they bill the county for that. The towns, if you want, they have the town sign a contract. So if you want the county to plow your township, they have to sign a contract that they're gonna give them X amount of dollars worth of work. Because the person has to have work all year. You can't just plow your snow and have no work in the summer.
Sure.
So they're asking the towns to commit the X amount of dollars so that they can afford to pay that worker for a year. So, you know, it's pretty complicated, but they work on time and material. You know, they charge for the truck, they charge for the wing, they charge for the fuel, they charge for the salt. There's nothing that they don't charge for.
This is how come everything gets so complicated. One thing runs into another.
And so where is that philosophy? Keep it simple.
There was no.
Do you have a comment?
No, I'm good. I'm
My
good.
only comment would be, Tom, unless you skipped half the budgets, you didn't attend 3 budgets, you've attended 7 already. 6.
Did I?
Yeah, 16, 17, 18, 19,
I
20,
wasn't.
21,
I
and 22.
keep on falling asleep when
Okay.
I try to read it.
All right. Then maybe you did like,
Well, a couple were on Zoom, so Tom, maybe you forgot about those.
Next, we got the next meeting date would be December 15th.
Sounds good.
Need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second,
Amy, get better.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.